Hello, it's Dr. Alan Ngim. Tonight I'm going to show you how to play 5 different scales. So here you see the keyboard. I'm going to show you not only on the keyboard but also on the notes. So on the score here. Now you don't have to know exactly what all these symbols mean, but I'm going to try to help you out here, and I'm just going to give you the basics for now. So this is a treble clef, and the reason we use these clefs is we want to keep the notes on the lines the best we can. So if you see this sign, this treble clef, this is for higher notes, and the notes on the lines are E, G, B, D, and F. Now, some people, if you've ever taken piano, the way to remember these lines is every good boy does fine. So those are the lines when you see the treble clef, and those lines sound like this on the piano. Now, we talked about pitch already. You should recognize that as you go up on the music, the pitch goes higher. So the higher the note is, and the note is just the little dot, the higher it is up on the music, the higher it sounds. So that note there sounds like this. And then if I put the note down here, that one sounds like this. So I hope you can tell that the one up higher sounds higher, and the one down below sounds lower. It has a slower frequency. Okay. There's one other clef that I would like you to be familiar with. These are the ones that pianists use when they play, and it looks like this. This is the bass clef. So you can imagine, since it's called the bass clef, it sounds lower. And I will tell you what the spaces are here. So this is A in that space, C in that space, E in that space, and G in that space. And if you took piano as a kid, you might recognize that's all cows eat grass. And in the bass clef, it sounds like this. So you hear how much lower that is than the lines on the treble? So again, I'm playing these notes in the bass clef and these notes in the treble. And so again, in the bass clef, on those same lines, it sounds like this. So it's very low. And then up here, okay, so that's the treble clef and the bass clef. So those little symbols, these clef signs, okay, so these are called clefs. That's really what tells the musician where they can find these pitches. Now I'm going to show you where you can find them. And we're going to look at them in just a little bit on a keyboard. So you should download a keyboard app for your phone or your tablet or your computer, or better yet, if you have a keyboard, you can just use that. If you have a piano, even better. Okay, so some kind of keyboard where you can have something that makes sound. Now here you see I have written down here a piano keyboard, but this keyboard doesn't make any sound. Of course, this is just on the screen. It's not an app. So how do you identify the notes on the keyboard? Well, first of all, I should tell you that let the pitch names go from A to G. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And then it starts over again. So we only have those 7 letter names. And from those, we can make a scale. We can make a C major scale. But these are all the ones we have. We also have sharp and flat. Don't forget that. So sharp looks like this. We could raise it up. And flat, we can lower a note. That's going to be important in a little bit. Now, how do you find the keys on the piano, the letter names? Well, here is C. And you find that by looking for the 2 black keys. So you notice the keyboard has patterns of 2 and 3 black keys grouped together. So you look for the groups of 2, and the note to the very left of those 2, those are C. Okay? Once you find that, you could find your way around the keyboard because it's just like the alphabet. So I could write all the letter names in: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and so on, you know. All right. So you just go like that. But C is to the left of the 2 black keys. All right. Find those notes now. Find the C's on your piano. And they should sound something like this. Okay. Okay, and that's the lowest C on the piano that I just played there. The one that we're most interested in is C4. So what is C4? Well, I'm going to show you in a little bit, but it's the 4th C up from the left. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So this is going up by octaves. Each one of these is vibrating twice as fast as the other ones. So C4 on the staff looks like this. Okay, so this is C4 in the treble clef. Okay, so it's the note that's just below. In the bass clef, it's the note that's just above. Alright, this may be a little bit confusing for you guys, but these 2 notes are the same. So this one and these are the same. But you notice one is below all the lines, the other one is above. So let me explain why. In the treble clef, that little G looking thing there, that C for a soprano singing treble, that's their lowest note, believe it or not. For the bass, that's their highest note. So if I sing, ah, oh my gosh, not warmed up, not really a singer either. For me, that note is kind of in the upper register for my voice. But for some of you, if you sing it, for some of the women, you sing that note, it's going to feel very low to you. So this is a note that everybody is supposed to sing. Alright, let's get to the scales. I'm going to erase the sharps and flats. For now, we're going to stay away from the black keys because it gets a little bit confusing. So for now, we're not going to play the black keys. We're going to play just from C to C. Okay, this is a technical thing. Just so you don't get confused, we are going to stay on the white keys and we're just going to play from C to C. So on your keyboard, try to find this one, C4. Okay, and now together, just play with me from C up to C and back down to C. It's going to sound like this, and you can use one finger however you want to play it. Okay, here we go. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Back down. B, A, G, F, E, D, and C. And stop. Guess what? You probably recognize that. That is a C major scale. So when you play from C to C on just the white keys, that is a C major scale. Now any other scale, starting on any other pitch, you're going to have to go on some black keys and some white keys. We're not going to get into that right now. It's a little bit much. But I am going to teach you how to play the minor scales. So when you play something in minor, it sounds really sort of dark and maybe sad or maybe exotic. Okay, so whereas in major, okay, major sounds really bold in comparison. So what's the difference? Well, if I number the degrees of the scale, so in this case, C would be 1, D would be 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to use numbers now to make it a little bit, okay, and C of course is 1 again, or 8, let's call it 1. We're going to change, if you're looking at the bottom here, we're going to change the 3rd degree of the scale, and we're going to lower it. So C minor uses E, and now you know, flat, which is lowering to the next note down. So instead of playing E there, we're going to play E flat, which is the black key. For every minor scale, no matter what note you're starting on, if you're starting from the major, the difference is you lower that 3rd degree. So C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C. There's 2 other notes in the scale so that you might change, and that is 6 and 7. Now, I don't think I should get into when 6 and 7 change, but let's just say that 6 and 7 can also be lowered. So I'm going to play one version of this. I'll play it with everything lowered. 3, 6, and 7 lowered. This is the natural minor, so you could try it out with me. Here we go. C, D, E flat, that's that black key, F, G, A flat, go up a half step a little bit, and then the next black key, B flat, and C. And back down, the black key, the next black key, G, F, the next black key, which is E flat, D, and C. Alright, so that's the C natural minor. And that's taking C major and lowering 3, 6, and 7. Now you can experiment around. Another really useful one is just lowering 6 and leaving 7 where it is. That sounds really sort of exotic. It sounds like this. You could try leaving 6 and 7 as they are in the major scale. This is called the Melodic Minor. Okay. Sounds a little bit like a mix of major and minor. And so those are the 3 different kinds of minor. Lowering 6 by itself, lowering 6 and 7 together, or not lowering 6 and 7. Those are 3 different varieties of minor. You don't have to know exactly all of those, but just keep in mind that 3, the 3rd degree of the scale, is lowered. Okay, now I'm going to show you 2 more scales, then I'm going to show you on my keyboard, and you can play along with me just in a second. So here we go. The first one is the chromatic. This one is super easy, but it's very colorful. So you know, chroma, color, you get it? Okay. Chromatic scale, it uses what are called half steps. So I'm going to say all, this is a technical musician's term, all half steps, but it's simple. Don't skip any notes. Okay. So don't skip keys. In other words, you go from, let's say, if you're looking down here on the bottom, I'm going to highlight it in, how about in a color I haven't used, how about yellow? Okay, so take a look down at the lowest C here. We start there, then we play there, then there, then there, then, so we're going to hit every single note. And this is going to be the chromatic scale. Now you notice, if you paid attention to the major scale, sometimes you go to the very next note, and sometimes you skip over a note. So, like, going back to the C major, watch. If I start on C, and then I play D, notice I'm skipping that black note. And then I go to E, again I'm skipping a black note. But then when I go from E to F, so if you look at E to F, those 2 white keys are next to each other. I'm not skipping note. So that's a half step. So C to D is what we call a whole step. We're skipping one note. D to E is a whole step. We're skipping a note. E to F is a half step. So in a chromatic scale, again, it is all half steps. And let's listen to what this sounds like. I'll play it down an octave. What you might notice, because it's all half steps, you really don't know where the start and end of the scale is. All of the distances are equal. So this effect might remind you of some things like Flight of the Bumblebee. It sounds like a little bit like an insect, or maybe in Jaws, that little half step, right? That's about all you need to know. And that's a shark. Okay, now that is a very, very colorful scale, very useful in the Romantic period because it depicts a lot of things. And even in the opening of Night on Bear Mountain, that also has, in the basses, it has kind of a little chromatic thing going on there. Let's take a look at one final scale, and that is the whole tone scale. So if you're a Disney fan, you will like this scale because this scale creates kind of a sense of fantasy, maybe a feeling of floating. If you imagine some land far, far away, maybe. Let's take a look at what this is. So I'm going to erase down here these highlights I put in yellow and show you where the whole tone scale is. Now you know what a whole tone is. The whole tone is skipping every other note. So if you look where the highlights are now, I'm skipping over one note each time. So it's sort of like two half steps put together. We just don't play the half step in the middle. Okay, and here's what it sounds like. Okay, this sound was very popular in the Impressionistic period. Ravel and Debussy were the ones who really made use of this. And listen, this is why I'm not going to play a piece, but I'll play the scale for you right now. So that's the sound of the whole tone scale. I mashed down the pedal on my keyboard so that the notes are ringing. And if you improvise with the scale, of course, there's no starting and stopping point, so it just feels like you're floating around with the scale. If you like that, listen to Debussy and Ravel. Okay, we're going to move now to an actual keyboard, a keyboard app. There's many keyboard apps, and I just downloaded one on my piano. And this is on my piano, on my iPad. Okay, notice at the bottom here. Oops, you might not be able to hear it, so I'll play the sound on my keyboard. Okay, so that's C4. Let's play the major scale together, and you can see how to do this. So start on C4, and this is what it sounds like. Minor. So we're going to take the E and we're going to play instead E flat. And it sounds like this. I'll leave everything else the same. What a big difference that one note makes. So if I play Mary Had a Little Lamb, if I play instead in minor using E flat, completely different feel. Okay, now the chromatic scale. Here we go. tone scale going down. Oh, and I think I should play the, oh, I did play the chromatic. Okay, so the last thing is probably your keyboard has something like this, especially if you're on your phone, where you can move the octave around. Hopefully you have it labeled, so if you notice now, when I move all the way to the left, C1, there it is, okay? And if I move all the way to the right, C8. I think that's this one up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Should sound like this. Okay? So you can try experimenting with that, and sometimes, no, this one doesn't. Sometimes, let me just, nope. Okay. Sometimes you can make the notes wider or narrower by expanding or narrowing that little bit there. So keys, oh, here it is on this one. So notice on my piano, there's usually something that can make the notes wider or narrower. This is really useful if you're on a phone because you don't have a lot of space. So you can make it so one octave fits the width of your phone, and that way you can get your finger in there and play one note at a time rather than 3. Alright, play around with these scales, and in the next video we're going to talk about how pitch scales are used to make melodies. I'll see you then.